Hi everyone, I've got an order for a frog and people wanted to see this flake being used again. This is the rose gold one, and the person who's ordered the frog wanted flowers, sparkle. I thought here's an opportunity, so I'm going to film it for you. I'm working in restricted space because I've got a mould making project going on over here as well. That's for another video, which by the time you see this might already be out. So as my space is limited, I'm just zooming you in. There you go. And just pretend you haven't seen this. Now, this is how we're going to do it. Some of you may have seen my emerald frog recently. It was rather beautiful and that had abalone shells in the back. And what I did was I put the clear layer in first, put in my detail, which in that case was my shells, and then when that had cured I put the colour on the back. And I'm going to take a similar process here. Now the resin I'm using initially is the, what's it called? One Coat, that's it, from Just For You Online. It's called Apex One Coat. And I'm using this because it's thick and it cures fast. And that's really what I want from this first layer. Now, obviously you can't mix different sorts of resin. So although I'm going to use a different sort for the final layer, which will be the one that has all this gilding flakes in it, as long as this is fully cured, it will stick to it perfectly fine. So that's the reason I'm doing it this way. But I wanted this layer to cure quickly and a bit of thickness so that the daisies don't completely sink right onto the surface. Kind of want to make sure I've got a little bit of the resin between them and the surface. So I'm going to just mix this up for a little bit longer and I'll be back with you. Okay, I'm back. Don't worry about the bubbles, folks. Because it's such a thick resin and as usual I stir a bit fast, you will see bubbles initially. However, trust me, this stuff deep bubbles really, really well. It'll go absolutely crystal clear, no issues whatsoever. Now, the reason I'm pouring into his little hands first is it will run down and I want to get it into all of the low areas, because I think what I'm going to do is just make sure I've got a good layer of clear first in all of those lower, in all of those lower areas. Like I said, it is a thick resin, so it should settle in all his little armpits and things like that, his knees and so on. Because although I'm putting the flowers into those areas, into the main area here, I'm going to try and get a little flower into each of his knees. And the rest I just want a bit of a coat over first. You can see how thick this is. I don't know how long it will stay in all these little points. Whether the whole lot will run down, it might do. But it's giving him a good clear gloss coat first. That was the idea. So just getting a bit up there. I wanted it kind of in his toes and stuff. I'm fancying bits of this staying fairly clear. Right, there we are. Get the last bit out. Or quite a lot actually. They're quite heavy, they're metal. So they will sink, won't they? But I do just want to, let's try and get a big row of big ones down the middle like that. I have to do a bit of poking around to get them exactly where I want them. I want one in the middle of his head, don't I? So one in the middle of his head, then two along his back. There we are. Got a spare one here then. One each side. See if I can get one into each of his knees. Just about, yeah, just about. Might need to turn it. Does it go easier if it's the side on? Yeah. Let's just turn it a little bit. Good job I've got my gloves on, isn't it? That's it. That's kind of how I want it. Do we need any more flowers? I'm wondering if I've put a bit too much resin actually for the clear coat. Don't know. We'll see. It's not as far into his head as it'll go. Actually, you know what? Let's have another little daisy. Let's get a daisy on his nose. Gonna need to poke that down. Thing to remember then, folks, if you're ever using this mould, if you haven't seen me use this one before, it's a lovely little mould. I'll put you the link, of course. I'll try and find these little metal pieces as well, see if I can find you the links for those. Just remember that he does get bubbles stuck under his chin, under here. So it's worth having a little poke around as the resin settles once you've filled it up. Just to make sure you've got, let's put the last one on his bum. Just to make sure you've released as many of the bubbles as you can. There we go. I think that's going to be really pretty. And I've got it fairly symmetrical, which I don't usually want to do, so that's quite funny, isn't it? Right, I'm probably going to give this, it takes 4 hours to cure fully, but probably after a couple of hours I'll be all right to come in and do the sparkle layer. So I'll be back with you in a couple of hours. See you in a bit. Okay, I am back mixing up some of the regular Apex high gloss resin. This is a 1:1, medium sort of viscosity, good for shallow, deepish. I think it's meant to go up to about 3 centimetres or something, but I've heard of people going a lot deeper than that with it. So good all round resin. And now look how clear that has cured, even though me being the muppet I am, filled the whole thing with bubbles. Perfect, isn't it? So just going to get this stirred up and I'll be back with you shortly. I'm going to mix in some of this gorgeous stuff with it. Look at that. Now, these are some lovely, big and very shiny gilding flakes. Now, I'm going to put lots. I really am going to put lots. Because the normal shade of gold that's in those flowers I've put in should be quite a nice contrast against this. And previous projects, I've just put a bit so that you end up with like a little bit of coverage. Oh, I'm trying to separate this now. Oh, and it sticks everywhere, doesn't it? Oh, the static and everything. Yeah, so I've put just a bit in previous projects so that there's a lot of clear in between it. This one I kind of wanted to get... Oh, God, I've gilded myself again. This one I wanted to get quite a lot in there, so it provides a nice, say, a nice contrast against that regular gold. Silver, I think, would probably work nicely too, actually, thinking about it. Because of the white in the flowers. I don't know. Anyway, this is pretty well mixed up. Now this stuff does act, this foil, flakes, whatever you want to call it, these flakes do act a little bit different to normal gilding flakes. I find they curl up rather than scrunch up, so you get a lot of shine. So I'm just going to make sure those are well mixed in, lots of them. And because they're so light, I'm hoping that it won't all sink. I'm hoping I've mixed up enough as well. Yeah, looks like I have. Because the little froggy's half full already, isn't he? That might have been a good guess. Maybe just the tiniest little bit more needed, I don't know. But that's all there is to do. I'm just going to leave this now. Yeah, I might just need a few tiniest little bit more mixed up just to get that absolutely up to the top, get it into his little toesies. But that little coat I put on of that went right into his toes from the previous one, it's kind of stayed there because it's so thick, I think. I'm just going to put a tiny dot like that. So as I said, although this is a slightly different resin to the one I used a couple of hours ago, for the first layer, it doesn't matter because the first layer has thoroughly cured, therefore mixing your types of resin, I mean they're the same brand but they're different types, but mixing it won't matter. So I'm just going to top this up and then I'll be back for the demold and we'll have a look and see what he's turned out like. Right then, let's have a demold. I know how the surplus comes off so easily. I'm patient and let it cure well. It just flakes away, dead easy. Right. Doing the knee trick to get the back end loose. All looking good so far. Show off these extra little bits properly later. Tiny bit of overspill. It's usually around his fingers. There's a little bit in, yeah, there's a little bit in his toes there. Well, you can see already how the flakes have floated. Well, some have, some haven't. They've curled up. It's really odd how they do that. Whether it's the movement of the resin around them pushing the sides up, I don't know. There we go. A little bit of trimming. This one should be so cute, a bit girly. Right, there we go. I think I've got most of the trimming. Right. Nice and easy. Oh, a little bit there. Okay, let's go for it. Well, the bit where the balls get stuck under the chin, the trick of poking the stirring stick under there and giving it a poke seems to have worked. Oh. Oh, I think I'm keeping this one. I'm going to make another one. Oh, going to have to do one with the black version of these. Oops, sorry, the black version of these flowers at some point, aren't I? Oh, isn't he lovely? Right, I'm going to colour his eyes in, and I think possibly gold. I don't know. Anyway, I'll colour his eyes in, and we'll get some photos done. If you've enjoyed this video, you know the routine. The button for the like, the little thumbs up is down below, please, if you would be so kind. And yeah, please leave some comments, let me know what you think. As we've taken to naming these frogs, then if you'd like to give this one a name, whether its new owner will follow up by keeping that name, I don't know, but we can give him a name if you want. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you for the next video. There will be more frogs, of course. It's just become a bit of my thing, hasn't it? Frogs and dragons, and making a mess generally. But yeah, I'm pleased with how that foil has just sort of stayed in amongst the resin. You can see they've got the clear layer at the top where the flowers are, but it's giving it a really nice all-through effect. Lovely. Alright, thanks everyone. I'll stop rambling now, and I will see you for the next video. There'll be just some photos coming up at the end for you. Thanks all. Bye.